Welcome to Aromatic Chat, the podcast that introduces you to registered, clinical, and certified aromatherapists around the world. Every other week, my mom sits down with a different aromatherapist to learn about their aromatic journey and how they use the plants that God has given us in their lives and their businesses. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching, and your host is my amazing mother, Melissa. She is a master transformational coach and a registered aromatherapist.
Hey friends, welcome to Aromatic Chat podcast, episode number 69 with Amy Anthony. Amy is a certified clinical aromatherapist and aromatic gardener who left her career in marketing research to pursue what is closest to her heart, working with the plants. She's also the host of Essential Aromatica, which is another podcast that I really encourage you to tune into. She tends her own aromatic garden in the North Fork of Long Island, where she distills her unique products. I cannot wait for you guys to get to know Amy. We had such a great time recording this episode. I just want you to sit back, enjoy, and listen to all the laughter as we hear from Amy Anthony. So let's get started. Amy, I am so glad that you are here on Aromatic Chat with me. We just recently really started seeing each other because we're both involved in the Alliance of International Aromatherapists. But then I was contacted by somebody that you know that said, hey, can we get Amy on your podcast? And I was like, well, yeah, of course. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad to see you. And you're in New York. Hello, shout out New York.
Hi, Melissa. I'm really happy to be here. And it's been fun seeing you via the AIA and getting to learn that we used to live in the same town, basically.
Isn't that crazy? Before we started chatting on the podcast, I was like, so have you always lived in New York City? And then she started sharing where she grew up. And I was like, okay. And she shared a real general area, Hudson Valley. And I was like, oh my gosh, where? And she told me, and I was like, oh my gosh, I lived in the next town over. So
it's crazy how, you know what, I love how big the world is, but especially how aromatherapy too makes things smaller, because you get to list, the world's small.
It really is. And the thing is, our aromatherapy community actually is huge because we're on every continent. People are everywhere, all around the world. And there's all these organizations, yet it's still just a drop when we're talking about the world as a whole. So I just love that we're connected in this way. I think it's beautiful.
I do too. And can I just say that you said a drop, and that's kind of an aromatherapy pun.
I didn't mean for it to be, but you're totally right.
I have a bad sense of humor.
I think we're going to get along really, really well. But
I'll shut up.
Let's go ahead and dive right in. The very first thing I love to hear is your aromatic journey, because I really feel like the story matters. And when people hear our story, they find a way to connect. So How did you get involved in aromatherapy, and how did you end up where you are in New York City with your business?
Thank you. And I'll try to give you the condensed, or I call it the elevator speech, because I was in corporate America. I grew up gardening in the Hudson Valley. I have some fond pictures of me weeding. I have memories of me mowing the lawn, weeding, lots of weeding. And that stuck with me. It stuck with me. I never dreaded it, which I'm grateful actually for that. Fast forward, I always had a garden where I lived. When we moved to Western New York, I made an herb garden. Mind you, I was like 15 years old. What 15-year-old generally plants an herb garden? When I was in Jamestown, we lived in this bad neighborhood. It was a really bad neighborhood, my boyfriend and I planted a garden. I had the permission from my landlord to build a garden. And then I noticed how other houses around me actually flowers were appearing. So I actually knew I was making an impact, but this was through me. So when I moved to New York City to go to college, I needed to get back to the East Coast and get away from Western New York, because I was a miserable teenager. I found ways to connect to gardening. So plants were always with me, but I went to college, got the job. I fell into market research. I loved it and had a great time doing that. I ended up working at JP Morgan, huge bank, doing client satisfaction research. But, I wanted to study herbalism. I wanted to continue to do all this stuff, and I was miserable, and my spouse is amazing. I quit my job. And then I thought I would be a personal organizer. And then I found the oils found me. Or I think it was eucalyptus found me. I was putting it in our humidifier and diluting it. Of course, I already knew, like, this is really concentrated stuff. What's this all about? I was fascinated. I was drawn. There's a store here in New York City called Enfleurage. It's still here to this day. I found it, in quotes. There was a workshop on blending that was in 2012, if not earlier, and I've never looked back. I started self-studying, studying oils, what's blending, this and that. And I was like, I must become certified. And I was looking for schools around the country. And down the street from me was the New York Institute of Aromatherapy, run by Amy Galper. And I signed up. I was like, my husband's name is Brian. I'm like, I'm taking this. I'm doing this. I need to sign up. And I did it. And then one thing led to another. I earned my level 2. I was asked to teach. And I had to start a business. If I was teaching, I needed a website. So it was just like, the oils found me.
Yeah. I love that. I love that the oils found the oil, but like you grew up gardening, so you were in it. Your hands were in it. You were smelling the plants all the time. So it's a beautiful natural step to just go to the concentrated plant matter of essential oils that we love.
Yeah. And if I could share this with you, and we might get into this, but I'll nip it in the bud, as it were. It didn't occur to me until several. It occurred to me several years later during teaching, because I taught level 1 certification. I created short form workshops and stuff like that, that essential oils are a way to connect with plants and nature, especially when we are in the city, in an office, on an airplane. We need nature. And this is a way to connect with it. As I hold up this bottle of Daucus carota, it's compelling. And I couldn't tell you that back in 2012. And it finally took me a few years to articulate that.
Yeah. And I completely agree. That's something that I've always said, is I really believe that God gave us all the plants for our benefit. And when we're among the plants, we're healthier. And it's not just eating plants, right? It's being out in nature, touching them, smelling them, being with them all the time. It makes a huge difference. And like you said, when we can't get into nature, we can bring nature to us. Thank God, through these essential oils. Somebody thought to distill a plant and, came up with an essential oil. I love that.
I know, it's mind blowing, isn't it? When you're like, who thought of that? Like, let's put these things together and keep trying, something's going to come out.
I think things like that all the time. I'll be baking or something, and I'm like, who was the first person that thought to throw all this in a bowl and stick it in an oven? I mean, this heavenly thing comes out. It's just the same with essential oils. Like, who decided to throw a bunch of plants into a still and see what comes out? But I'm thankful that they did. So are you still teaching?
Currently, no. I have my online presence, my website, where during COVID, like, who wasn't doing stuff like that? But I do teach. Like a couple of weeks back, I was at big corporation. I taught an Aromatherapy 101 workshop. So I still have my hand in, and I'm looking for any kind of way to spread the word of essential oils. So teaching, yes, on my website. And then when I get some gigs, they're coming back, COVID slowly kind of easing still. But yeah, my heart is in teaching, by the way. I love it.
Oh, that's fabulous. But the thing is that I've found with aromatherapists, all of us really are at some level a teacher, because we're not just creating blends for people. We're creating blends, teaching other people how to use them, teaching other people how to make them. I always say I'm not a really great businesswoman, because I always say my goal is for you to not need me. I mean, I want you to not need me. So that's really bad business sense. I get it. But
that's what an aromatherapist is supposed to do, is say, I want to help you with the root cause, and I want to help you achieve equilibrium. Let's call it that.
Yes.
I don't want to see you every year for 10 years. I'd love to see you, but the goal is for you to sleep better, you know,
Right.
or
I'd love to see you, but let's do that over a cup of coffee. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, definitely. I'm curious because you have been practicing for a while. Uh, what is your favorite client story? Like, what's the story that you think of that reminds you why you love doing what you're doing?
God, I've never been asked that before. So, you know, this just happened. So it's top of mind. So let me go with this one. I worked with a young girl, about 12 years old. This is probably just like 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And test anxiety, you know, kind of not the usual stuff, but a little anger at school, test anxiety. So I know her mother, and they came to my office. The three of us sat around. I already pre-selected oils, and I just said, let's smell these, and whatever you like, let's build something together. We made a tea. I always make a tea for clients as well during a session. I think it was rose and chamomile cold brew. And she loved the tea. And I helped her select, would you like a roller ball? Would you like an inhaler? I think I gave her another option. And she picked the roller ball. So I made the blend. I gave it to her mother the next, like a few days later. She loved it. The young person loved it. I can't share names. And I got a picture of it. And last week I was told by her mother that she loves it so much at school when she finds she was about to get angry or yell at someone, she felt much better. And she was going to write me a thank you note.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it was just something as simple as being in my office. We sat on the floor. She got to choose her own oils after I presented some.
Yes.
And she uses it. She loves it. She feels better.
Mhm.
She feels like she can manage her anxiety. And I was just like, that makes my day. That's fabulous.
And I love the idea of, I mean, because we are the people that are educated, choosing some oils and saying, here's the ones that I think would be really great for you. Which one do you like? Which ones do you like? Let's make a blend out of what you like. Because, but the empowerment of giving her the authority to choose what goes in it instead of some random person saying, here, use this. Huge.
Yeah. And for her, I think too, because I can't share a lot of personal information, but she needs to feel empowered, you know, because I know there's some things going on in life. So for her to be able to choose not only the oils, but the delivery method is very empowering for any client. Because, you know, what if you hate a roller ball, but you're always told like roller balls are the best, you know, well, there's other things, right?
Yeah. What if I'm already a pretty oily person and I really don't want to put more oil on my skin? I mean, we know it's good for us regardless of the sebum, but got to be something you enjoy, right?
Exactly.
If I don't enjoy eating a food, I'm not going to eat it. It's the same with the aromatherapy. If I don't enjoy what I'm putting on or inhaling, probably not going to use it.
Yep. Exactly.
Even if I know it's good for me.
No, it's true. Just like I continue to drink a small amount of coffee each day, even though I want to give my liver a break.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but I love the taste of you, coffee. I know better.
I get it. I totally understand. Yes, totally understand. But it's the same. It's the same with the essential oils. Absolutely. So one of the things that I found in the last 2 years as I've been doing my podcast is that aromatherapists are some of the most interesting people. And I'm curious, what are some of your other passions besides aromatherapy?
That's a fun one. Like gardening, of course.
Right.
So if you see me on Instagram, it's usually about, I don't like to show my face. Like, who needs to see that? So I'm like, here's the garden. What's going on in the garden? So gardening has been a part of me. Like, I need to be with the plants. We've established that already. Museum going, I find inspiration is important because we spend a lot of time indoors, right? Or we get caught in our heads and our ways. So I like to take, a day or two here just to go. I live in New York City. So like go to the Met, go to the Guggenheim, go to the New Museum, go to the Neue Gallery, like go to the Museum of the Native American, which I want to go to soon. That helps me get inspired to get ideas for things to feel fresh. I volunteer for the past 10 years. I can't believe it. Every Thursday at St. George's Episcopal Church, we call it the Common Table. It's all volunteer funded and ran. I make the aromatic soup for the past few years, and that inspires me. So like, it's about creating and getting messy and finding the thread between things. So like making soup, getting into bay laurel, then I'd be like, let's learn like bay laurel. It's all about bay laurel, and just being inspired. Like art always inspires me. I make olfactory scent boxes. They're multifaceted. They're art pieces. So I make these really slowly. I might be in a gallery or 2 galleries actually in the next year. Fingers crossed.
Very nice.
Yeah, but they're labors of love. I'm like, they're not for sale, but they're really private, but really fun. They're made I use cigar boxes, so you can close them.
Nice.
There's other things, I'm sure, but it's like the volunteer work, because I want to be a part of my community. When I moved to New York City, I was like, how do I find a community here? So it was like trying to make your own.
Right.
Yeah. I guess when you move anywhere, right, you have to kind of figure that out.
Exactly. Well, and it's funny because there's people who really don't move much, right? And then there's people that move all the time. So we discussed before we started, you and I moved a lot when we were younger. So it's like you just recreate yourself wherever you go and you find that new community. Absolutely. So you found a community of people who love doing the same things you love doing, which is what we do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I find I'm going to go off topic here.
Great.
If you don't mind. One thing that frustrates me about aromatherapy and trying to have a business and being business minded, like I struggle with, how do I fund my business? Because we know the oils are expensive. You have to buy printer ink, you have to, et cetera, right? And then
all the things that go along with a regular business and essential oils.
Yep. Beautiful carrier. I just ordered supplies from Nature with Love last night because I needed candelilla wax. So I'm like, oh, and I need Temanu oil and I need this. I'm like, who's paying for that, right? So I want to get paid, but I also firmly believe in volunteer work. So I do sliding scale for consultations and stuff like that. But I have this hard time reconciling like a love for doing and giving and being like, but this costs money. And I did like volunteer work plays a huge part in my life.
There are so many people, and I find aromatherapists specifically because we come into this because we want to help people, right? Yes. We just want to help people. But it costs money, just like you said. And how do I reconcile that? And I actually work with quite a few clients along those lines because I'm also a life coach. So having these money beliefs and these ideas about volunteerism and where is the intersection between what I love to do and making it a business. And that is a lot of belief and identity work that has to go on outside of, what you're doing. Because one of the things that that's really important to remember is the way that we do one thing is the way that we do everything. So if we're finding that we're giving, we're never going to be receiving. Yeah. And that's a hard part for aromatherapists because we just want to help everybody, like you said, we want to get to the root cause. We want to help you figure it out. We want to teach you how to care for yourself. We don't want you to need us. Like I said, it's really bad business, but it's true. I really don't want you to need me for very long, but I'm here for you if you need me again. So it is a hard thing to reconcile within, but it is possible.
Yeah, it is. And like when I get corporate gigs, that's great. I got this gig. I'm making 100 jars of a special balm for a store. It's like when I get these gigs, I'm like, great, this goes in the bank account, like, yay.
Right.
But I want to go back to something you said in line with this is the plants want to help us. And like the plants want to help us. They're here for free. Like, they're free.
Mhm.
And
They
we
are.
want to help people. Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's interesting, like you're saying, reconciling these things.
Yeah, it really is. It really it is. But it is something that does need to be reconciled, especially when you're trying to run it as a business and not just help my neighbor, help my friends.
Exactly.
And yeah. So there's some paradigm shifts that have to happen, that, some shifts within that have to happen to make it so that, setting up as a business is okay. It's okay. It's good and it's okay.
And it's okay.
Yeah.
And it's really empowering to be like, my fee is X, and once I gave myself that permission, and if someone says no, I'm like, okay, you'll find another aromatherapist if you don't like that. Right.
Exactly. Instead of and I do see a lot of aromatherapists going, oh, well, if that's too much, we could do it for this instead, and backpedaling. And that's money. Those are old money beliefs that are coming through and preventing us from saying, this is my fee. This is how much it costs to get what I do. We've put a lot into our education. We put a lot into getting to where we are.
Yes.
It's not like we just signed up and got a kit and now we're aromatherapists. It doesn't work that way. We're talking years of education, thousands of dollars, and then supplies. Oh, and business stuff.
Yep. Yeah, those labels. I mean, you should, all these books I have, it's like, it's a thing. It's a thing.
The thousands of dollars I've spent on books alone, just books.
You're like,
so,
whoopsie,
but it's one at a time. Happen? It's one at a time, or 5 at a time, 1 or 5,
Have you ever been on, like, back when Amazon was like the bookseller, more of just a bookseller, but it's like people also bought this book. And when I was in my aromatherapy exploration, I'm like, oh, look at that one. Click. I need that one. Click. I'd be in Barnes and Noble here on Union Square. Oh, what's that?
Oh, I know. It's so bad.
I need that.
And even still on my Amazon, I have a book list that I have to scroll like 3 pages to see all of them. There's so many, and they're not all aromatherapy, mind you, but still, it's a lot of books, but one or 5 at a time, we'll get there.
It's a lifetime of learning, right? It's a lifetime.
Well, and that's the other thing that I found about aromatherapists, and I'm sure you have as well. We love learning. It's not, we didn't just learn what we learned and we rest there. We keep going. It's rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you still smelling carrot?
Yeah.
Yeah. So rabbit hole after rabbit hole after rabbit hole.
Come on.
Oh my goodness.
I love it.
Okay. So how can people find you? So they're listening to the podcast and they go, oh my gosh, I really like this Amy Anthony lady. I want to work with her. How do they find you?
Thanks, Melissa. I love her puns. This is
I'm having so much fun. I just want to say
her bad sense of humor. No,
I love it.
Thank
it's
you.
Not bad. I love it. It's great.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Fabulous.
Fabulous. So please, thanks for asking. And I do have a podcast called Essential Aromatica. And you'll see I'll do episodes where I do feature the church and the soup I made, and that's usually a riff for an oil or a topic. And then I often have guests, which I know you'll be a guest soon. Yay. And then also please find me at nycaromatica.com. And on there, I have my plant talk videos where I geek out with plants and talk about the oils and read a poem. And you'll see me by my still. And I do plant writings called plant talks as well. So it's like essential oil monographs, but not quite. You could call them that, but they're not like a monograph.
Right. Not like a textbook.
And then I have, correct. Okay. It's more, I have a conversational style, I feel. And then I do have a lot of online courses. Some of them are free, like online diffusing, how to diffuse oils, and like pay what you wish classes as well.
Very nice.
And my shout out to my baby, my chakras class. That's my baby. It took me a long time to do that one.
Excellent. And are you on social media also?
Yes. Shockingly, I'm NYC Aromatica on Instagram.
Just Instagram, no Facebook, no Twitter, no LinkedIn, no TikTok. What are some of the others? I don't even know.
I know. Facebook, I'm not active on. Twitter, who knows what's happening there now, Mr. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And then I'm on LinkedIn too, but I have a question for you.
Okay.
Like, I know there's only one, like, we can only focus our attention on one thing.
Right.
And I've struggled over the past few years, especially once 2020 came. I started going on like this app, that app, try to be more on Facebook, Instagram. I'm like, I only have one me and one attention. And I find I'm like, I just stick to Instagram.
Yeah.
There's only me, you know?
Yeah. And that's beautiful because we really can only do so much. We're trying to run a business. We have a podcast. I have a family. I still have to eat and clean my home, and then I have all these other things that are tugging at me. My sister was just trying to get me to sign up for some other social media thing. And I'm like, I can't. My focus is on Instagram is where I do most of mine as well. That's where I focus my attention is on Instagram. I do have a Facebook page, LinkedIn page, places like that, but I'm not active there. I'm just not.
Yeah.
I just
it's
can't.
Hard, right?
Unless I hired someone to do it for me, which I'm not there yet. It's just too much. So I focus on Instagram.
Yeah, me too. It's good. And there's only one, a friend of mine said this and I love it. You only have one attention. I'm like, amen.
Yes. Yes. And our attention is already divided enough between the other things that have to be done. Social media is kind of like, I don't want to say it's an afterthought because, I'm pretty active on Instagram, but it's like I look at Instagram as my handshake. Hi, I'm Melissa, and this is what I do. If you would like to learn more, please contact me because I'm not going to do it here on Instagram.
Yeah. No, it is like a business card. It's a cool, like a website was not a necessity 15 years ago.
Right.
It's a necessity now.
Right. Right.
Social media is a necessity.
Handshake. Yeah. But I do look at it as it's just a handshake. If you want to know more, I'm here, but it's not going to happen on Instagram for sure.
Yeah. All right. I like that handshake. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So what are you working on right now that's got you really excited? And it doesn't have to be aromatherapy related. It could be anything.
Well, I don't want to jinx it, but I was literally yesterday and today making this 3 flowers balm for this store that they will be selling under their name. And I just submitted I had a few contracts with Mother Earth Living to write articles, and I just submitted my plant. It's like a plant conversation on sweet fern. I just submitted that the other day. So nice. I'm hoping it will be published. She said it might be published next week. But I've been spending years getting to know sweet fern, Comptonia peregrina, and it's a love of mine. And it's a plant that's not talked about a lot in aromatherapy. Herbalists will know about it. But that I can't say I'm proud of, but I'm excited. I got it. I submitted it. And now I'm like, I can breathe and work on other stuff again.
I know that feeling. I know that feeling. I know it.
Like it's off the list. It's been on that list. It transfers to other lists. I'm like, finally, I got to cross it off.
Yes. Fabulous. Fabulous. How has plant medicine affected your life and your loved ones' lives? You've already shared about growing up with a garden and everything, but how has it affected your life and the life of your loved ones?
That's an interesting one because I don't live by family. And I come from it was just like my mom, my dad, and my sister, and we're far removed now, location wise. My husband, he's like, you're doing your thing. He supports me. He's like, you do your thing, whatever. So he'd be like, why does it smell like that? I'm like, he has like a bump on his back. I'm like, let me help you. He's like, eh. So like, okay. So we don't work with him a lot. But how does plant medicine, it's really about connecting me. So here's a practical thing. Here's one I could literally be really like aromatherapy practical. When I learned about the really antihistamine-like plants if I could use those terms. And I have allergies, right? So I, for years, have made a roller ball with Inula graveolens, Metricaria recutita, and Tennesetum annuum, so blue tansy, German chamomile, and Inula. As soon as I get a little bit of I put my little roller ball on, 1, 2, 1, 2, and my little symptoms go away in minutes. That's a life changer. I have not relied on an antihistamine like Flonase or whatever in years. Like, to talk about a literal like life changing and that kind of aspect.
Yeah.
That's
Could
been
you
a
say
big
that?
game changer.
Could you say that again about the Flonase, just for the people in the back?
So I've not every day, but when I get my little symptom, I use my roller ball diluted. Of course, I do not turn to Flonase. I have not taken Clarinex in years or any of that stuff. None of it. I work with my essential oils. Yep, as needed. And I'm not taking it daily. It's as needed.
And for years, you've had relief by using plant medicine. That's
exactly.
huge. That is so huge.
Oh, here's another one. Whenever I get like, oh, lentils for dinner, and I went overboard, so I'm gassy, I go home, I open a bottle of ginger, I smell it for 3 minutes, maybe 5. I don't put a timer on. I feel 100%. This is repeatedly. I've often tabled at health fairs and stuff like that over the years for myself and for the New York Institute. And I loved lunchtime. And someone would come up to me, be like, oh, and I'd be like, here, smell like ginger with maybe a citrus, because they go so nicely together. And then they'd smell and they come back and be like, I feel better. Good at that. Just in quotes, smelling ginger.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm not even getting into the emotional aspects. I'm like literally the physical symptoms, I wanted to share a really like an emotional thing for me that was very impactful. I live in New York over a commercial space, and a nightclub type gym opened up that made our lives miserable for about 3 years. And we had a lawsuit going on. That's how bad it was. The building did. And I made myself a roller ball. I write down everything meticulously in a spreadsheet, but I don't remember what was in it, except I think neroli and St. John's wort oil. And I forget what else. I made this oil for anger for myself. And every day I applied the roller ball as I was leaving my apartment. And this always happens. It's about 3 days with consistent use. I found I was not as edgy and as angry. And literally I would apply this twice a day. And it took that rawness, that took that edge away from my anger. And I couldn't change the living situation.
Right.
But
it was, right. I mean, you're there. Yeah.
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 It was very impactful for me, because I got a bloodshot eye. That's how angry I was.
Oh, wow. Most of us come to aromatherapy for personal reasons, and then we go, hey, this is amazing stuff. Let me share it with the world. So yeah, awesome. So if you had a call to action to share with the listeners, would you have anything like find me, check this out?
And this is part of our talk before about like, you're in a business, but you're like, I'm giving stuff for free. And that's one thing the internet's really confusing. Like, here's all this free information. So I really encourage you, if you want to geek out with me, check out my articles, watch my videos. I love what I do. I love the plants. And this is a journey for me. So I invite people along for the ride. If you're curious, sign up for one of my classes if it resonates with you. But it's at this point, because I only do in-person consultations. I choose to not do remote consultations.
Okay.
So if you're in New York, look me up. But I love what I do. Like, check out my myrrh video. Like, I cry at the end. I share a poem I wrote. Like, I cry during these videos, for goodness sakes. But I really get in deep with the plants, and I want to share that with people.
That's beautiful. So basically, come check out your website and see what you're doing. And then if you're interested, there's some classes there that you could sign up for. Fabulous. But that was actually going to be one of my questions is, do you do remote consultations? So really only if you're in New York City or the surrounding area would it be, would you be working with people? And
Yes.
again, going back to the story you shared at the beginning, you got down on the floor with this young girl and brought out the oils. And that's beautiful because you have them right there and they can interact with them. And I'm not going to say smell them. They're interacting with them right there. I love that. That's beautiful. Interacting. Yeah. Because these aren't just static things, right? Plants are living, growing, beautiful things. And it is a relationship that we have with them. It's not just, I'm going to buy it. And this is something that frustrates me. I'm just going to buy this bottle and, use it. But there was a plant that went into that bottle, and there's a relationship that we need to have there. And I think that's what we were talking about at the beginning. Like we were created to have this interaction with the plants. It's not just, oh, look, there's a pretty plant, but there's a plant. I'm going to smell it. I'm going to touch it. I'm going to ingest it or, whatever. Yeah. Have a relationship.
And it's alive. And I love, I'm so just thrilled to spend time with you here. Yeah. And there's science that shows that we can't put our humanness on them, but they are responding to their environment.
Absolutely.
But I wanted to share with you that when I can say this, I love it. I learned through my herbalist training, especially, to be like, we work with plants.
Yes.
We don't use them, we work with, and I love how that goes in with how you talked about we are interacting with the oils when we're presenting them to a client, or I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because it is a relationship. Nothing on this planet is, exists in a vacuum. We all exist together and we have to work together. So as we get ready to close out our time together, I always like to just hand the floor over to my guest. If there's any final thoughts that you have.
I think one of the things I always like to share is to stay playful. And one of the best gifts I ever gave myself when I was teaching and also being a practitioner was, don't feel like you need to know everything, because you never will. Don't be afraid to play and make mistakes. Don't be afraid to say, I don't know that. That's interesting. Let me look into that. Because, and I've looked back at this when I've seen acupuncturists or stuff, doctors, they go away sometimes. It might be consulting stuff. You don't know it all in your head. So don't be afraid of that. And that's just part of what we call the aromatherapy practice, right? We're practicing. Practice doesn't make perfect because we're always practicing. And also when I blend for doing a consultation, the oils are always with us. And I have my knowledge. I still read books. Sometimes I pick up a greatest hits and I still read it. I was just reading like medical aromatherapy the other day, but it's like when I'm with the client, it's all intuition.
Yeah.
And sometimes I always hover over the oils and they're talking, I'm listening, we're talking. And then I just pull the oils. And I'm not like thinking about that. So it's like my advice, or whatever I'm going to call this, is to trust yourself and trust that intuition, because it's right.
Beautiful.
And maybe it's, like, just don't second guess yourself, and play with it. Be lighthearted.
Beautiful. Oh, Amy, thank you so much for being on Aromatic Chat. I have really enjoyed getting to know you today, and I cannot wait to see you inside other AIA meetings now that we've had this chat, and we can, I don't know, I just feel like you and I, if we were to sit down and have a cup of tea or coffee, whatever, together, because you're trying to cut back on your coffee, right? A cup of tea, I think we would have just an amazing time. Thank you so much.
Melissa, I'm tickled. So thank you. I can't wait to see you in person at the AIA conference in
20
when that happens.
2024, I think. Oh, great. Thank you so much, Amy.
Thank you.
During our chat, Amy brought up something that can be so paralyzing to really just about anyone, not just people who own their own businesses. And that is the beliefs that you have about money. I want you to know that you have a choice about what you believe about money. You have a choice about what you want your financial life to look like and feel like. Your current financial situation is made real by your old money beliefs, and it's possible to update, reframe, and even completely shift those beliefs to create a new story and a new experience. One of the things that helped me overcome my old, outdated, holding me back beliefs is this truth. You ready? Money is simply an energy exchange. I have worked with many clients helping them understand that money is just energy. The bills and coins that you hold in your hand actually have zero value. The only value they have is the one that we as a society have placed on them. Those bills and coins represent the energy that it took to get them into your hand, and you have a choice where to give that energy. It's an exchange. There's so much more involved in shifting those outdated paradigms, and I want you to know that as a life coach, I'm here to help. I work with unemotional wrecks. These are the people who've stuffed their emotions so far down that they cannot feel anything anymore. I help them learn to feel again and reconnect with their body so that they can heal. If you or someone you know are emotionally detached and numb, have digestive disorders, or have unexplainable or undiagnosable pain, I am the life coach for you. I also work with aromatherapists who want to reconcile and resolve those issues that keep them from having a thriving business. There's a saying in the coaching world, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. That simply means that if there are issues in one area of your life, they affect every area of your life. If you're wanting to heal any area of your life and have a thriving business, I invite you to a complimentary discovery call to find out if life coaching is the next best step for you. Imagine this year finally being your year. It's easy to schedule. Just visit lemonbalmcoaching.com and click on the link. I hope you enjoyed this Aromatic Chat episode with Amy Anthony of New York City Aromatica. We seriously had so much fun recording. There were times that I actually forgot I was interviewing her because it just felt like a conversation with an old friend. I hope you'll head over and check out Amy's fun videos. I'll include a link to her website in the show notes. Over at Buy Me a Coffee, you have an opportunity to support the show. You can simply buy me a coffee. Well, actually, it would be a cup of tea or a frappe because I'm just not a coffee drinker. Or you can join the Aromatic Chat community to have access to meditations, behind-the-scenes stuff, and even early access to episodes, all while supporting the mission of Aromatic Chat of connecting people with the aromatherapist that meets their needs. You can become a member over at buymeacoffee.com/AromaticChat. That's buymeacoffee.com/AromaticChat. Be sure to check out the show notes for any of the links mentioned in today's episode. Aromatic Chat is produced by Lemon Balm Coaching, and you can connect with me, your master transformational life coach and registered aromatherapist on the web at lemonbalmcoaching.com. I will see you next time with our next episode. Until then, peace, love, and aromatics.